till I came here.
Game was good. Good game. It's about as good as Nickelodeon Kart Racers 1 and 2. It was a lot different though. You could ride the karts, obviously. There was bikes and stuff too. It was weird, it was different. You can really see the games evolve as they go on. Because one was like really super simple. 2 got more. It just feels like the rosters get bigger, the stages get better, maybe there's even more of them. The customization, the parts. But yeah, the biggest difference here was there's like bikes you can ride instead of go-karts. It's cool to have the option, but I feel like they even drove a little bit better. Just because of the way you get around, but it's kind of hard to not go to the karts after only specifically doing karts from 1 and 2. Another big difference I saw was there's not as much, or maybe there wasn't any at all. The game went by kind of quick for me because I just kind of rushed through it. But it was easy, it's fun as usual. But there wasn't as much of the boat stuff, which I think was probably one of the more fun parts of it. But another big change they did here was there's like a bunch of slime water slides, which is kind of cool, but the camera angles are a little weird because you had to really time your jumps right or something like that, and spirally all crazy. It was a little much. The downside to this game, you know, 3 games in, which I'm surprised they even got to that many. I was surprised to see a sequel. When I saw that the 3rd game was even available, I was kind of surprised because it's like, how did they pull off making 3 of these? I was happy with the 1 and then 2 and then 3. But as soon as I saw it, I had to get it because I was like, dude, more kart races, great. Different roster, more or less the same. The mechanics, I didn't really want them to change that. I liked getting introduced to it from the first game. Which I'd like to say at the time was the only one out. Maybe the second one. But the 3rd one was pretty recent. And it's a next-gen version of the game too, which is really weird. So, much smoother frame rate, blah blah blah, better graphics obviously. So not only did they get a 3rd game, but they got it to PS5 or next-gen, whatever. That's weird. It kind of threw me off. It's cool though, because that's what made it even more exciting. When I saw it, I had to get it. I don't remember if I got it immediately or not, but I was actually really excited to play it. Because 3 games in, next gen, it was just kind of like too good to pass up. And there were some other modes in there, but they went by so quick. I didn't really think too much about the other modes. They're kind of just lesser, extra little things to do. But the main part of the game is fun. That's all you really need, the Grand Prix. It is a good time. I had fun. This might have been my favorite roster because one was pretty limited. SpongeBob was like my go-to. 2 was opening up a little bit, but I think 3 was really... Some of my more favorite characters got in there. The downside to the roster was a lot of the... Since it's a newer game, there's a lot of like modern Nick characters in there. I didn't know who half of them were. So it didn't really interest me too much. It's like, man, give me the old school boomer characters: SpongeBob, Patrick, Danny Phantom, Gurr, Avatar, The Last Airbender, The Legend of Korra, etc. You know, a lot of these more offbeat... I don't even know what I would like call them now. Generic, basic. It's just not, the heart's not there. What made Nick good in the first place? That's been gone for a while. I mean, thankfully, like, SpongeBob is still a good running show, and it's not hard to have access to these shows, like on Paramount or something. But give us more Invader Zim, give us more Avatar: The Last Airbender, give us more The Legend of Korra, same thing. Give us more... The only active show-ish is SpongeBob. Give us more Danny Phantom, some new modern episodes of that could actually be pretty sweet. It's not going to be as classic, obviously, but for what it is, to carry over to today, to continue those shows like that, actively, that'd be really cool. But we get these games instead. I never ended up playing like the Nick All-Star Brawl game. There's been a few Nick games recently. There's like one other one, I can't even remember the name of it. I was like, dude, if I'm gonna mess with any Nick games right now, it's gonna be kart racers for sure. It almost makes me not want to try out. I kind of only recently decided that I'm not even sure if I'll ever play Crash Bandicoot Nitro Racer, Crash Team Field Racing, whatever it's called, and Mario Kart, obviously. And there's a lot of kart games out there. Like, if you go looking for them, there's a lot of them, a lot more than I thought. There's almost too many. So I was like, you know what, man? I'm just gonna stick to Nickelodeon Kart Racers. That's it. If I really wanted a kart racing game fix, there's other games to go to, but I'm not trying to make it into like this whole genre of like, this is all I'm gonna play. That'd be a little weird. But that's the thing though, the one kart game I do play, it's really cool. There's even a mini kart racing game and a Yakuza game, like a dragon, but obviously it's a mini game. It's not going to be as fleshed out as this game. I like this game. I respect it because it has a focus and a direction, and it knows what it's doing and what it wants to do and where it's been, and it's so concise. It's like, hey, we're gonna give you these characters y'all know and love, old new based characters, and you just go around in your carts and have fun. Another thing too I noticed was this game feels a little bit harder because it's 3 games in, like it is gonna get somewhat more difficult because they're gonna introduce these new mechanics and stuff, and it wasn't really that bad though. It's definitely doable. It's fun. I mean, you could get through it in like a day or two. And then if you want to do more, obviously you can collect all the stuff, play in the other difficulties, try out the other modes, whatever. But even with all the roster and stuff, it's cool to try out each of them once, but there's only just one I stuck to most of the time. Just to kind of keep it simple and easy. Another big thing, I couldn't believe it. There is voice acting. I was so excited. Because if I remember correctly, 1 and 2, I don't think I did anything like that. Like it was so cool. Like the whole roster, you could. I don't think they're all original voices, more or less. I really don't know. It is kind of hard to tell. Some of them might be impressions, maybe all of them impersonators, sound-alikes, whatever you want to call clones of good, well-known, iconic voice actors. But it's actually really good. It's so distinctive, you wouldn't be able to even tell the difference. Like, if you look up who voiced all in the game, there's gonna be a lot more answers there, but from what I heard, it sounded just like the show, so I was pretty happy. But that just it gave the game so much life that it was missing. And that these other Nick games I mentioned earlier, I don't think any of those had voice acting in it either. Or they added it in later or something. Dude, the voices are what makes the characters, it's what brings them to life, or they're just moving, walking, not talking things that are just there. They're drawings and animations. Or in this case, game graphic made people things. The voices are huge. When you're driving around, you can hear them yapping away, making random voice lines. So that's what makes playing each character interesting enough, because of what they'll say and do, and all the weird little nods from the shows that they would say something similar. It was great. But then if you're trying to main like one character, you'll definitely get all the voice lines out of them and really appreciate the things they say, and like, oh, I remember when they said that, or I remember this or that from the show. It was cool. Definitely one of the bigger highlights of the changes. It pretty much goes from the thing I liked the most was the voice changing. The roster got better. I like that there was other alternate versions for the carts, but didn't really care about that. The water slide thing didn't really care for. So the cons, the bad thing is, was the water slide. It's kind of fun in a weird way. I don't think it was necessary, but you know, if you look at how far Mario Kart has gone, for example, it's like that game is insane now. I can't even keep up with what's going on. I try to watch it and I just can't follow along. They're underwater 1 minute, they're in the air the next minute, they're in space, they're on land, they're doing cyclones and twisters, and I'm like, what is going on, dude? That's so Nintendo too, to kind of eventually go in that direction somehow, right? Just all crazy. I like something where I can follow along and I can see where I'm going and what I'm doing and the end of the goal, and simple, good, basic mechanics, that gameplay and combat, and something that keeps me grounded to what I'm doing. And that's what this game does so well, is they don't try to push in too much. Only bad thing about this game particularly versus the other two is that that's exactly what they do, is they really push it. But just enough to kind of make it work. because, you know, the further these games go, the more I'd rather just go back and just play one, honestly. It's kind of hard to do that now, especially with the next gen, the better roster, blah blah blah. But yeah, gameplay's cool.
What?
Really sporadic, high energy. The music is always good. The music's not... It's getting... I don't remember now if it was 1 or 2, but the music, especially the starting intro menu music, was so good. The music in this game definitely isn't as good, but it's still super catchy. Like, not even just the main music, the main menu music, but all the track music and stuff. But that's all it was before, was the music, the sound effects, the carts, whatever. A big thing that was missing was the voices. Playing this, it felt so alive and so, like... That's what I like, is taking a computer, you know, graphic generated CG digital game and like putting an organic twist into it. I love voice acting. I love hearing a voice come out of these things that are completely made like from nothing. From artwork or whatever, pre-renders and drawings and sketches, and whether it's practical on paper, digital, all getting put together very intricately to kind of make this whole thing. Those voices just so good, especially liking anime and cartoons and stuff. That's what a big part of games is that it's the voiceovers. That's what makes playing it even that much more enjoyable. Crash Bandicoot, Mario, did they even talk? They don't like actually speak. You know, Crash is kind of a bandicoot. He's like an animal. I mean, I realize some of these characters do talk somewhat, whatever. But what's cool is that in this game, they all talk. They all have something to say. They're all characters that have been around for years. And that everyone has liked and grew up with. That, and people who are also my age and all these things, like, there's just so much good to get out of this game because it's nostalgia, it's very modern, it's a racing game, it's a Nick game, which we don't get many of. It's very affordable. There's just too many good things about it to pass up. Like, I even tried to watch a Nick documentary, like, just kind of reminiscing about how Nick started and seeing all the actors growing up now and blah, whatever. I don't know, that's like kind of all we get is things like that, like some documentary or game here and there. They may or may not be good. They're always trying to do something very experimental with everything that they're doing. So out of what they are doing, I'm glad that if I'm participating at all and playing any of their games, it's this kart game, because it just seems the most worth it to me. If I was trying to get that fix or that itch or be in that mood. And it's good. It's nice to compare it to games you'd probably normally play that's like this very original IP, kind of random, a game for being a game's sake. Versus at least this was just something kind of to go off of. It's all licensed stuff. So that's kind of cool. Just something that I can like relate to and identify with a little bit more than what I'm normally playing most of the time. I like anime games and I like licensed stuff, some of it. I'm definitely not gonna say all of it. Because unfortunately it does, this series franchise, it does land in that whole licensed games aren't that great. And, you know, bargain bin type thing, unfortunately. But it's tough to say though, the quality is really good. Like, this game has gotten enough traction, obviously. I don't follow it super well or anything. I play it myself once on stream or something and that's it. You know, and I make these videos, but I'm just, it's crazy to see it still going. Like, I don't expect it, and I'm like, okay, that's cool. I'm not gonna complain. Getting more of something that's good and that you enjoy definitely isn't a bad thing. But to me, there's a difference between something that's actually good and fun and enjoyable and relatable, all these things that 99% of everyone I've ever come across or could come across or know of right now could say the exact same thing. And I think togetherness is such a big important thing right now. Bonding and having things in common and similarities, whatever, things like that. So that could be very well something this game could be good for. You know, unfortunately, yes, it is a short game. It can be, depending on how far you want to go with it. There's not a lot to it. It's probably really fun for, you know, a day or two, but beyond that, I wouldn't expect too much. It's not going to be a full AAA expensive, long-running, big online-based kind of this and that game like Mario Kart. I mean, unfortunately, it goes Mario Kart, to me, Crash, and then Nickelodeon. Well, as far as their reputation and, you know, their significance and no, not relativity, relatability, is that a word? But on my personal scale, SpongeBob is, this game is up here, easily. And then Mario, and then Crash, probably. Which is kind of funny, because I was always considering playing Crash before Mario, even though I don't even have a Switch to play Mario, but I just find that kind of funny. And then somewhere in the middle there's that Sonic Team Racing game, which I don't know. I'm not even gonna go there, but you kind of have to compare these other kart games because there's not a lot of them. Maybe throughout time there's probably been a lot more than I realized, but as far as modern ones that are accessible that you can get right now, the latest and greatest of what they offer as of right now, this is, as far as I know, the, you know, third game into the Nickelodeon Kart Racer series now. So unless there's magically a fourth one that I don't know about, which I doubt it, if they make a fourth one, I'm not sure how I'm gonna feel about that, because I think this is a very good place to stop, to be honest. Just let people find your games, let them have fun, let them have a good time, and just kind of move on. I don't know. Because in the grand scale of things, this kart racer game in the Nickelodeon world is you know, they're not betting all their money on this one game, clearly, because they're also making the other ones as well, which I'd like to say are a lot more active. But that's because one of them's a fighting game, this one's a racing game, not quite the same thing. But, you know, it definitely doesn't have as much of a competitive scene to it, whatever. Yeah, it's cool. I think it makes more sense in that fighting game too, because like, man, I don't know. Has anyone ever really pictured like? I can definitely see it because of what Nick is. It's very gritty and raw and kind of just doesn't care what it does, how, when, who. So the fighting, like, seeing Nickelodeon characters fight each other is kind of hilarious. Because it just works. But I think there's something special about the racing part and kind of fighting too, because it's like, hey, you get to see your favorite characters. They're not slapping the shit out of each other, but they're like... they're racing each other. And it's that fine line between, hey, I'm here to compete and win, but I'm not also here to, like, beat the crap out of you either. So, it's kind of that nice middle ground. It's a very balanced, leveled out, very neutral experience, because you're getting to take so many things that you have loved throughout the years for so long, and appreciate and respect, and these are the characters that made you into who you are, and are a part of it, amongst many other things. That, you know, the way you think and the way you talk and act and feel, and which may or may not always be interpreted in the best way for everybody. Especially just thinking about just like OG day, like day one Nick. That documentary I watched a while ago was like, looking back at some of those shows, wow. It's very disturbing and weird and odd and strange and wacky and goofy. What's cool though is that was the shows back then. That's kind of still the shows now, like modern day SpongeBob, maybe. Those new shows probably don't hold any power to the old ones, because they do seem a lot more like they're holding back more, censoring more. It's funny how that works too, because as we keep going into the future, it's like things are more acceptable and open, but at the same time they're getting so much more strict and condensed, so it's kind of this weird I don't know. I shouldn't even go there. It's like a whole nother video or something. Yeah, this is great. I don't regret it at all. It was a little pricey, even on sale at the time that I got it. I mean, obviously it's not going to be as cheap as like 2 or 1 especially, but it does have the next gen version though, so you know, it's kind of worth it, because you really want to just to experience something so old, like I've been saying, from the 90s, whatever. You know, here we are, 2024 now. Yeah. I mean, just like most things, these series don't really age. Well, in a way they do, but when you take that old stuff and put it in this new game, it's a really nice, refreshing way to kind of reimagine these characters as, you know, it's like, hey, you're not getting old, don't worry about it. These characters are still doing their thing, they're still there for you. They're still being made into games and whatever else now. Everything's fine. It's all good. I don't know. I just felt when I played this, I just felt like safe, or like something was having my back and supporting me and looking out for me and watching over me, and that's what these characters do. They help me really kind of get through the day, or You know, things change quite a bit, so it's kind of nice to just have something to some kind of solid thing. I don't know. Yeah, Nickelodeon Kart Racers 3. Not bad.